Hi everyone, I'm Yvette. Welcome to my art studio. Today we're going to make a succulent drawing using a mathematical sequence. You're probably thinking math, nature, and art? Well, bear with me. It's going to be fun. Here's a sample of one that I've already done. You'll need a 2B pencil, 4B pencil, several sheets of sketch paper, and an eraser. Personally, I'm very intrigued by the connection between the imperfection of nature and the logic of math. Looking at the succulent, you can see that there is this really beautiful circular pattern happening. When I bring in this flower, a ranunculus, we have this gorgeous circular pattern too. And then this pine cone, you also see the circular shape and a pattern happening. What shape is this that we keep seeing? And of course, this sweet little shell, which kind of gives it away. We're going to be working with spirals today. And we're going to find out using the Fibonacci sequence or the golden sequence and how it relates to making a spiral or a succulent. The mathematical sequence I was talking about is called the Fibonacci sequence. As you can see here, if you take 0 plus 1, it equals 1. Add that 1 down here, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Take 2 and the previous number, which is 1, it equals 3. If you chart these numbers out, they form a very specific pattern, which we can then see if we take each corner, it evolves into this beautiful logarithmic, slowly opening pattern. Take this pine cone. As you can see, if it's from the very beginning, there's a really small leaf. Then it slowly disperses out and gets exponentially bigger. This pattern radiates out as it slowly creates a very round structure. Our sweet ranunculus from before, again, tiny and slowly dispersing out, getting bigger and bigger and bigger till it just shows off its beauty. Again, a spiraling pattern. As you can see here, I drew a spiral using a heavy marker. It's a Sharpie, black. I started from the center and slowly worked my way out. This does take practice. And as you can see, it's not perfect, which is fine for me because I think nature is perfectly imperfect. So having a foundation that's not perfect is okay with me. It may not be okay with you to have an imperfect spiral, or maybe you're just tired of practicing and not getting it quite right. You can always download one from the internet. Just search for logarithmic slow opening spiral. Here we have my imperfect spiral. Let's take a piece of paper, put it on top of the spiral. In order to make the drawing process easier, we're going to take your Sharpie marked imperfect spiral, or the one you downloaded from the internet, lay a piece of sketch paper on top of it. If you look closely, you can see the faint lines of the spiral underneath. Very lightly take your 2B pencil and very lightly sketch the spiral in. It's more of a suggestion. We will eventually erase this line. Let's just go ahead and put it in. This is a guideline more than it is something that's going to be very permanent. So here is your finished spiral in a very lightly drawn in 2B pencil. And start filling in those petals. Remember to overlap because petals overlap. It's kind of tedious, but you know what? Great in times like these. A little therapeutic. Especially spiraling patterns because you can see this advancement happening as you keep going. Take those pencil lines and go all the way down to the previous line of leaves. So I'm taking my tip to the edge of where this pencil is, where the spiral line is, and I'm taking it from the previous line of petals, going up and intersecting there, overlapping slightly to the next petal. I'm doing this standing up, and it's a little difficult. I encourage you to take your paper, turn it so that it's ergonomically easier to draw. If you follow the pattern of your hand naturally, it wants to work this way. So when you get into these curves, I'll get a better petal this way, whereas when I'm doing it on this side, it's just a little awkward for me to do it. As you can see, some of my lines are not perfectly shaped. Take your time. Don't worry about if they're perfect. You can go over and reshape them again. And you can always come in, erase something that you don't like. In fact, we are going to be erasing our penciled in spiral line. All the more reason not to draw that in darker. So here's our finished succulent. As you can see, the way the shadows are cast on the under petals, the light source is coming from here. It's creating those darker shadows here. Show these petals moving a little bit forward. I try to keep these edges a little on the light side so that you can really see that contrast, that they feel like they're coming a lot more forward. These petals don't have as much contrast when it comes to the shadows because the light source is coming from here. We can kind of see this little magical spiral as it's evolved and really emphasized in these darker areas. Taking your time, you'll want to do really light pencil strokes, and build very, very slowly. This darker areas, they probably have 4 or 5 layers of pencil, starting with the number 2, really getting there with the number 4B. Very lightly outline these. Don't do heavy hand. We also need to add background shadowing, which will help bring these petals forward and create more of a contrast and frame that beautiful, unusual line. This shadow down here in this background is much darker because this light source is coming from over here. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today, and this is our finished product.